Today we're going to do something that I've been wanting to do for a while, and that is upgrade, refurbish, and fix up this iPod Classic. You can see it's got a bad screen, and we're going to fix all that coming up on Tech Guy Life. So I've got an iPod Classic. It's a 5, I believe, a Generation 5. So it has the plastic face, metal back, all around good unit. But you can see it's got a bad screen. It's scratched all to Kingdom Come. You can't see that probably on the video. Let's see if I can, oh, there you go. I can get a little bit, if I angle it towards the lights, you can see how bad it is. So I want to clean this up. We want to upgrade the storage and just generally have some fun with it. So what do I have for this upgrade? I have got a 480 gig mSATA drive on an mSATA to ZIF socket adapter board. And what this will do is it'll allow us to plug in this drive right where the old spinning hard drive is in the iPod. The other thing I have is a shiny new back. Originally, I had planned on doing this on a 6th gen iPod Classic, but then I managed to get this guy off Facebook Marketplace for relatively inexpensive, and this makes this a lot easier to do the upgrade on than it is for a Classic. And the reason for that is the Classic has a metal face. So the metal face has clips on it which clip into the back, so you can see them right there. And metal on metal does not unclip very well. So you essentially have to destroy the back of the iPod Classic in order to, do any upgrades. You have to get a new one. So originally that's what I had bought this for. That's why it says 160 gig on it rather than what I'm going to upgrade this to, which is like 480 or something like that. Because the iPod Classic 6th gen is only limited to 160 gigs. But we're going to use this back anyway because it's nice and shiny and new. I also got a clear faceplate, so we're going to use that instead of the black one along with the black wheel, so I think that'll look pretty cool. New LCD screen, obviously, because this one has got... It's just funny because if you can see it now, there's no problems. When it's dimmed, it's fine. But as soon as you come undimmed, it goes to crap. So the old battery came out of the backing pretty well. It's just not, it's so old, the tape just kind of, like, it's pales in comparison to the amount of tape they use to tape down batteries now in Apple products. So that did not come out very hard. But what I need to do now is I need to steal the screws that are holding in the parts, the hold button and the headphone jack, so that I can put them into the new case. So they are teeny tiny little screws. And for some odd reason, this screw was silver and the other ones were black. Why? I don't know. Okay, so I have the headphone jack and the hold switch kind of put in place. So the hold switch kind of fits in and there's a couple of little spots so it actually holds itself. And then I just kind of tape the ribbon down, the cable, the flat cable down with a couple of pieces of Kapton tape in order to keep it from going all over the place. So now we get to try and put the screws in. So we'll start with the silver one first because it was different. There we go. That went in pretty easy. Okay, so I got it all connected. What had happened was the little metal screw hole that's on the side here got bent down a little bit, so it wasn't quite lining up. So I took that screw back out, bent it back up, put this one in first, and then followed up with the one that holds the headphone jack into the top of the case. So now everything is connected correctly. So we can put that off to the side now. Now what we need to do is we need to get the mid-frame and the motherboard and the LCD off of the front panel. And there is 3 screws on each side holding it along on with clips. So one is here. So again, it's those tiny black screws. And there we go. So now we have the mid frame with the click wheel, which I'm keeping. I didn't get a replacement click wheel. And we've got the LCD screen just kind of sitting here. So I think that's what we need to do next, is get the LCD screen swapped out. So that is connected here. And there is a little black connector that we need to flip up. And that is really tight in there. Okay, so you need something very, very thin. I would not suggest a knife because this plastic is so thin, this can just cut it. But get something very thin so that you can pop up the connector, and then you should be able to get the ribbon cable out for the LCD, just like that. And there we go. And here we have a new non-broken LCD. So let's try and get this in right away. Okay, I think I got that latched in, and that ribbon I think is in all the way. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a piece of Kapton tape across there to hold it down better. This way the bulge in the ribbon won't constantly be trying to pull itself out. So just like that. Okay, so here's the delicate part. I took off the protective inside of the front plate so that the glass is clear. Now we have to get the protective layer of the LCD off and then quickly get this on so that no dust gets in. I think we did it. So now it's just time to put the screws back in. All right, so we got our 6 screws installed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So now the whole front frame is reassembled. And I like it. Probably should have bought a new touch wheel because this one is kind of scratched up. But still, I love the clear. I think that looks great. So now what we need to do is we'll flip this over this way. And here is our cable for the headphones and the hold switch. First, we need to make sure that the lock is up and open. All we do is reinsert the ribbon cable. It doesn't go in all that far. I think that's it. So you just have to get the white line to the edge of the fold down clip. Okay, so with the headphone jack hopefully reconnected, now we can hook up the solid state drive. So what I did was, so this is an mSATA to ZIF connector board. So it has the same connector that's on the edge of the hard drive is on this board, which converts it into an mSATA. So now I'll have a nice solid state drive in here rather than a mechanical drive. And one with a lot of space comparatively. So we open the latch. So there's a latch there. Open it up. It might actually be easier to do this without the drive installed. So don't put the drive in yet. Open the latch. Then we insert the connector and then close the latch. It is locked down. Okay, so now flip it over. Won't quite connect it all up yet because the last thing we have to do is get the battery reconnected. So the battery connector is right there. So the ribbon cable is in, and then push down on the locking tab. Let's plug in a cable and see if this worked or if I just wasted a whole ton of time. It's turned on, but it says low battery. You can't see that. Let's see if we can light it up. There we go. So you can see that it says low battery, please wait. Okay, so I'm a total idiot. I had the battery hooked up incorrectly, so it wouldn't turn on. But now that I've flipped around the battery and connected the right way, so when I push the play button, it boots up. You can't really even see it because it's not that bright. And that says connect to iTunes to restore. Okay, which means good, it's turning on, and it needs to put the software the on the new hard drive. Okay, so I got iTunes and the capture running on the computer. So now I'm going to disconnect from the charger and plug it into the computer. Okay, iTunes is asking me if I want to install the software. And it's like, yeah, duh, yeah, I do. Well, that was a bigger adventure than I thought it was going to be. So let me fill you in on what happened between the camera takes. So this machine, or the iPod, kept boot looping, just would keep boot looping. And I was like, what the heck is going on? Ends up, the MSATA drive that I had, bad. Just went bad. It was working before, and then it just decided to go bad. So it was causing the whole thing to boot loop. I couldn't read it on my computer, nothing. So bad drive. Okay, sure. So ended up getting a new drive, putting it in, just essentially replacing the one that was in there. And then it just wouldn't work. It kept coming up with the sad iPod face and just kept failing to see the drive. So then did some digging, some research and whatever, and found out that on those MSATA connectors, so here's a compact flash version of it, the cable, so here's another iPod piece, this is too thin and slides out of that, especially on the MSATA connectors. So the solution, very simple. A piece of Captain tape on the backside gives it enough thickness to go in there solid, and now it works perfectly. So then we went through and I did the iPod restore, which I'll show you now. So there it goes. Very simple process. And here we are, all working. Still not totally back together, but we're going to take care of that. Got to verify that the headphones are working. So I put some YouTube acceptable music on here. So we'll play that, and I will plug in the headphone jack, and I'll check it out first. Yep, it's working just fine. I'll get the microphone down. Can you hear me? Here we go. So there's the one speaker. So that's the left side. And that's the right side. So both speakers of the headphone jacks are working again. So that is a big plus compared to where we were. Let's disconnect that. Flip it over. And then this way. And now we can get to the final setup to finally clean this up and get it going. So the first thing I'm going to do is we need a piece of double-sided tape. So I'm going to put a piece of double-sided tape under the drive right here to stick it down so it doesn't go anywhere. Double-sided tape down right here to hold the battery up and out of the way. So I should be able to put the lid on, but keep the battery on this side so that it's easy to open the case. Like, so it just opens up, the headphones are on that side, everything's good. One other thing that I did was I had forgotten to take the controller port piece, which you can barely see there. It's just a little plastic piece that sits inside the, sorry, not controller port, the charge port. The charge port piece off of the old case, but it was broken. So I stole this from another iPod that I had. It's kind of a parts iPod, but we'll go into that one later on. But I put that in order to have the piece on this one because this is going to be my good iPod. All right, so the last thing I want to do is put some Captain tape on the solid state drive so that it doesn't short any way possible um, on the shell, on the back case. And there we go. That should prevent any shorts from possibly happening on the back shell. Okay, I think that's it. It's time to close her up. Great thing about the plastic ones is that if I did screw something up, I could just open it up again. Well, this sucks. Battery is too thick. I'm going to have to take this one out and put in the other one that I have, which is this one here, which is teenier, tinier. And there we go. She's all closed up. So I can take this plastic off the back finally. Man, that's annoying. All right, so I've got the iPod hooked back up to the computer now that it's all buttoned up and everything's working well, just so we can verify all of the stats. So it is an iPod Classic 5th gen, so it is running software 1.3. That is as high as it ever went, and you can see here that it is a 476.63 gigabyte iPod, which was never made. So you can see here that it is a proper capacity and everything is working well. So let's put this iPod off to the side, and I want to do something. This made me kind of curious. Curious in the fact that I have this iPod. Where did it go? Here it is. This is my iPod Classic 6th gen. These are kind of limited in the fact that you can only go up to 160 gigs max, and that's it. Before I even ran the channel, I tried to modify this in order to turn it into a 160 gig iPod, and it failed horribly. But after finding out the information that I did about the MSATA adapter, I kind of wondered if that would apply as well to this compact flash adapter that I had been trying to use back with this guy. I went ahead and I have put some Captain tape on the connector, and let's see if it works. The other thing I want to do is I hate the metal chassis of the iPod Classic, because as soon as I click this back into its case, there's no way to get it open. And you might be able to see here, this has just been bent all the heck, because you can't unclip the metal clips from metal very easily. You have to bend it. So I think what I'd like to do is, if this is possible, is I'm going to take this guts and put it into the old scratched case from the other iPod. So we'll transplant that stuff into there. And then I wonder if I can transplant the old face from the old one, into the Classic. The holes look like they line up, so it looks like I should just be able to take this out of its mid chassis. So the answer is yes and no. The click wheel is thinner on the 6th gen, so there's a definite gap and it feels a little loose in there, but it still functions. The plastic faceplate fits fine on the mid chassis of the 6th gen. There's no problems there. Okay, so I have a 128 gig SD card loaded into this compact flash adapter, which goes to a compact flash to ZIF adapter board. So let's connect this on here now and see if this suddenly works, because it was always kind of doing the same thing. In hindsight, it was always falling off, and it would work sometimes, and then the iPod would reboot, and then it would no longer work. So I'm wondering if the cable was also falling out of this ZIF socket. All right, so it actually shows up as an iPod again. I had only gotten to this point once or twice when I was working on this iPod, a couple of years ago. and it would never work. As soon as I'd close it up, it would crash again or not work at all, and it was terrible. And it doesn't look like it got any better. I think this iPod, unfortunately, is just going to have to stay as spare parts. So I also recently got this iPod Mini. I think this is a Generation 2 iPod Mini. And I was curious as to whether or not it can be upgraded as well, because apparently it just has a compact flash micro drive in it. But it's kind of a pain in the butt to open. So the first thing you have to do is you have to get this little plastic piece out, unclipped. Then you have to get these 4 little holes here are retaining clips, and you have to get them to come out. So then you can pull out the whole bottom clip like that. Then you have to pop this cable off like that. And this is the click wheel and the controls. You also need to remove the top bezel because there are 2 hidden screws under there. The top bezel is held on with adhesive. It's the beginning of Apple's obsession with adhesive. But now that we're in, we can remove the 2 screws. 1 and 2. Push from the bottom, and the whole unit slides right out. And there is our battery and our micro drive. Okay, so apparently I haven't been using my microphone this entire time, but fixed it. Guess better late than never. So after a little bit more disassembly, yeah, it's just a compact flash micro drive that is in an iPod Mini 2nd Gen. So I'm just going to take the adapter pins out of it and connect it up to the CF adapter that I was going to use in the other iPod. So I'm just going to go ahead and connect it back on. So it just clicks right back in there, and that's it. Now, one thing I didn't know with this iPod was whether or not the battery was a problem or if the compact flash or like a micro drive was the problem, because sometimes it wouldn't boot. It just didn't work. So I'm just going to leave the battery as is, and if it ends up being a problem, I'll order a new one later. So I'm going to slide the iPod back in, hook up the controller cable. Before we button it all back together, let's try hooking it up to the computer and see what happens. Hey, look at that. It has said that there's an iPod there that needs to be recovered. So let's restore it. Okay, so it has worked. We have a 115 gigabyte iPod Mini, which was not a size that they sold. Let's eject it and put it back together. To re-adhere the top panel, I just used some double-sided tape, put a piece of double-sided tape on it, then I just trimmed out the insides in order to get the headphone jack and the hold switch position exposed, and also to trim off the excess from around the edge. So now I should be able to just take this and just pop it back in. Okay, so the top panel is nicely, well, as nice as this one's going to be reconnected. This has got all kinds of scrapes and damage and whatnot. Now we just have to put the bottom clip back in. So you just kind of pull these pieces in, and then they just slip into a channel, and that holds the whole thing in. And then the last piece to go on is the bottom cover, which just clips back into place. Now let's give this guy a wipe down, get all of this gunk off of it. So there we go. We got 3 iPods, 1 failure. Oh well, can't win them all, I guess. There is a chance that this can still come back to life because it is all still working. Maybe I can pick up an iFlash. We upgraded this iPod Mini to 128 gigs, which is well beyond the 4 that it came with. And we have a 0.5 terabyte iPod Classic 5th Gen. And let's do that peel. Ooh, nice. So again, we got a nice half gig iPod, a parts iPod that we can probably bring back to life, and an iPod mini that does, I think, need a battery. I'm going to let it charge and see how long it lasts, but I'm pretty sure the battery in it is cooked, so I'll have to get a new battery for that at some point. But there we go. 2 recoveries, 1 partial recovery. Well, maybe we'll see these 2 again in another video at some point. But that's it for today. Please like and subscribe if you like this kind of content. It really does help the channel. And that's it for today. Bye.